Today we are making the incredibly foolish mistake of trying to build our own camera. I found this build your own camera kit for sale online, and after saving up for months and months, I was finally able to afford the $4.50 to get my very first TLR. This will now be the cheapest camera I have ever owned. The roll of film that I'm going to shoot with this thing actually costs more than the camera itself. So what does our investment of nearly $5 get us? Well, we have a large assortment of pieces, a bundle of tiny screws that I'm sure to lose, and an instruction manual that's entirely written in Chinese. So yeah, this is going to be a project. The actual construction of the camera was much more involved and complicated than I had initially imagined. I needed a ton of help from Alicia to sort through the myriad of pieces and attempt to translate the nearly useless assembly manual. We actually had to build the entire shutter mechanism ourselves using a bunch of connected springs and clever latches. After hours of fiddling and cursing, we somehow got the thing kind of working. Overall, it took us about 3 days to build the camera, working on it for an hour or two each day. According to the box, assembly can be done in about an hour, so I guess that gives you a good indication of my intelligence levels.
It just feels so like I don't know if it's even taking pictures, but maybe. Spin it again. How many have we taken? Who knows?
I've always loved building things. Before I started this ridiculous career path of photography, I actually worked as an aircraft mechanic. There was a time when I could disassemble, clean, measure, and replace all of the parts of an aircraft engine, or any engine for that matter. I got my degree in aviation mechanics with a focus on jet propulsion and turbine physics. It's strange to see just how different my life is now that I've decided to focus on cameras instead of airplanes. I had virtually zero confidence in this funny little camera. I had seen a few other people attempt to build it themselves, and from what I saw, nobody really got much out of it in terms of actual photos. I decided that there was a slim to zero chance that I had constructed it well enough that it will actually seal out the light. So after putting in the roll of Gold 200, I wrapped the entire camera and every part that might leak light with black tape. As you can see, that still didn't prevent light from burning its way across every single image. Though I'm actually pretty okay with it. I think the streak looks pretty cool. Am I going to take this camera as my main camera for a professional shoot? Probably not, but people are really seeming to like the blurry, ruined aesthetic these days. Even though this camera is a hopeless, light-leaking mess that is virtually impossible to focus and constantly feels like it's about to fall apart in my hands, I have to say it's just incredibly fun to go out and shoot with something that you made, or at least put together yourself. It also allows you to completely forget about making pretty images. You know that everything you're shooting is about as stable as a fart in the wind, so you stop thinking so much about your images and instead get to simply lose yourself in the actual act of photography. It becomes so easy to lose yourself and just wander around, pointing your plastic black box at things that make you smile. You give up on following any rules of photography. There's no rule of thirds or golden ratio. You see something you like, you take a photo. Who knows if it's actually going to work? It probably won't, so why not try anyways? Want to do a bunch of double exposures? Sure, why not? They have the same probability of working as any of the others do. I would love to be able to easily fall into this flow of photography when out doing commissioned work or any of my own projects. After seeing these images, even though they are essentially garbage, I can't help but feel happy with them. They have a sense of simple, goofy fun. They aren't trying to be anything they're not. They simply are, and that's totally fine. There's a common mistake I see with photographers who are just starting out. They get over-involved with the gear and the mechanics of shooting. They get caught up in making sure that they have the exact perfect shutter speed and making sure that whatever lens they buy has a big, bright aperture. And this ends up just making the act of photography more of a technical pursuit instead of an artistic process.
Pointed that one straight at the sun.
There are so many times that I go out and shoot a roll of film, and when I get the images back, I find that the one that I love the most kind of end up being the ones that were shot almost as like an afterthought, or there was some sort of mistake in them. For example, when I was in Nicaragua shooting surfing on film, the process of shooting surfing is very fast-paced, and you have to constantly change and adjust your settings to compensate for the light and the glare coming off the water. So I had often shot these images that were either way overexposed, or the shutter speed was way too slow, maybe my focusing was off, but these images, the ones you just have to shoot because you see something amazing and don't have time to make 100% sure that you have the exact perfect settings, often end up being the best ones. They have a sense of authenticity to them, as if they themselves needed to be photographed. I think I ended up learning quite a bit with this funky little build-it-yourself camera. I'm going to try and be less focused on the outcomes of my images, and instead try to pay more attention to the actual process of shooting. See if I can find a way to let go of that persistent voice in the back of my mind telling me that I have to be better, and that if the light and the composition isn't exactly perfect, then it's not worth shooting. Find a way to be more present and just have more fun while shooting. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Campy Chronicles. I've got some more goofy and weird projects that I'm currently working on, and I can't wait to share them with you. It's got something to do with circles. That's all I can tell you for now. See you next time.